Well, Attitudable opens the door to a new world of people transforming lives and the way we do business. This is a space where we share ideas, dreams, experiences with a conviction that attitudable humans can attain anything. Would you like to thrive in today's communications? Welcome to our podcast. Today, we are honored to have with us Jessica Glazer, who is an empowerment coach as well as the founder and CEO of MindHR, a recruitment and resume writing agency. She's also a motivational speaker and appears regularly on various news and radio stations speaking about employment-related issues. She was the television host of Videotron MaTV Starline, micro-documentary series about local businesses as a multi-generational and multi-ethnic urban exploration of Montreal's entrepreneurs and job market. Jessica has further worked as a recruitment consultant, LinkedIn branding specialist, and served on Access Board of Directors for Employment and Staffing Services, with advances, best practices, and ethical standards within the recruitment industry. Welcome to our podcast, Jessica.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much again. Pleasure to be here, wherever we are.
Awesome. In these crazy times, we are all still in quarantine and confined. And we would like...
But it makes these times even more interesting because look how this could happen now. So
yeah, and you look very nice. It's a sunny day and a very beautiful forecast there.
Yes.
I wanted to know how you, as a HR specialist, how do you see or how do you think will be, if we can think about the future of our job opportunities with this COVID-19 pandemic that were all over the world?
Well, I would say that if a year ago you said to predict what was going to happen and this was going to be what you would say, everybody would say you're out of your mind. I did think that at the time of last year, the economy was doing super well. And I kept saying to my team, I'm like, something's going to happen. I don't know what, but something's going to crash. It was just going too strong, too fast, and everything was just booming. So something was going to happen. It was just a question of what it was. To this capacity, nobody could have predicted something like this. Now, to recover from it is going to be another story. Now, there are companies that are hiring, there are industries that are hiring, but it's a very difficult time and it's a very different time. And even those that aren't working don't necessarily want to be working because they're burnt out, because this isn't like a recession. It's not like when you go, you're struggling with your own issues or with your spouse or alone. You have it. This is the first time ever that we're going through our own issues with our children. They're with us 24/7 if you have them. And if not, then you're really alone. So it's not like you've lost your job and you have to figure out how you're going to get a job back. It's you've lost your job and you're isolated. You can't even go out for a coffee to talk about it with friends. You can't go see a therapist unless you find one online. So the future is going to be somewhere where there's going to have to be a crossover of companies that will have to accept remote working, because that's something also that companies never wanted to accept. A lot of companies were flexibility, no. But here it's like, this isn't going to be the last time that something to this capacity is going to happen again. So companies will have to adapt. And I'm sure now for us, we're going into week 11. So they've already adapted more into this new normal. But as employees, we also have to adapt to, it doesn't mean that come September, everything's going to be okay. Some people are saying until there's a vaccine. Well, what is that, 2 years, 3 years? I mean, that's going to be insane if that's what we're looking at. So it's really about the future. Nobody can tell what the future is going to say. I mean, even tomorrow is always a new day. The government always has new restrictions they're taking, they're giving, they're saying. So you as a person have to figure out what your plan is as an individual how you want to be foreseen within your organization, within your community, within the world, and then go from there. Because every company, every person, it always is different. And I know it sounds cliche, but it really is, especially in these times, because everyone is going through, like, it's like the same storm, but a different boat. We're not all in the same boat. We're all in completely different boats, going in this storm together, trying to figure out how we're going to survive it. And some people really won't. Some people have given up. Like, you saw it right away there, even within my own profession. I saw people were posting their cooking, or they're under the table and they don't know how. Like, to me, this is a time to excel and a time to show strength and a time to move forward. But for others, it's a time of, oh my God, I can't handle. And so it's within yourself figuring out how you're going to handle that to move forward, because it is literally a sink or swim situation. And 5 years from now, if you didn't do anything, except it was not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, we're all kind of going back into nature. So is that what this is supposed to be? Who knows? But we still have our bills to pay. Our bills are higher than they were during the recession. There's more cars, there's more technologies, there's more IT. But it's completely different, you know. It's like I would say we're same but different. Exactly. You know, it's a very unique situation. And for me to say, okay, in a year from now, everything's going to pick up, everybody's going to be working from home, it's not. I think that CEOs, they're reevaluating their needs. I think that the concept of corporate real estate is going to be changing, where their perception of needing to micromanage. But then my other side is, you also have people that don't like working from home. And they're very great at what they do, but they're not succeeding working from home, because even though they may have been getting dressed, they worked out their schedule, they're working out, they have something, it's still not, they're still not, they could even be burning out because they don't know how to turn themselves off. And companies and everyone's still trying to figure out. So I think that we will see more people working from home. And we'll see more people that will want to be engaging and having the communication with others, because it's not that distance makes the heart grow stronger, but you kind of want some type of people want that type of communication with individuals, because we are so isolated. But look, the world is coming together in its own way.
Yes, and what do you think, how the independent or freelancers, people who are very used to work perhaps online or remote working, but not this remote working, as you said, because it's not the same, how will they, or will these kind of people who were used to this, will they have to be like more prepared, or what is necessary for them?
I think they're in the best scenario possible. Yeah, they're in the best scenario possible if they were already freelancers, they were already working from home, they're already remote, they're already prepared. The only difference might be is that they have their kids with them or not. But if you're a consultant, you're already used to that type of world, where if they had to stay home from school, if they were sick. I mean, I remember myself as a consultant, as a recruiter, working from home. I've always had this office set up. And I remember recruiters would actually post knocking the way that I worked. And I was like, well, I even messaged some of them. I'm like, well, I'm not laughing at you, but there's something to be said if you already have this set up. You're already one step ahead if you're already freelancing. Now, the difference for freelancers is that your competition has grown. Because those individuals that are no longer working, that debated on working for themselves, well, now they're on the market with you. And that's a big change. And that's where freelancers have to really sell themselves. And a lot of freelancers that don't succeed is because they don't know how to sell. And they don't know how to sell themselves. They're very, like, there's some amazing designers, graphic designers, web designers. They're extremely talented, but they're not good at selling themselves, which is why they may struggle when they're working alone, because they want to work within an office, they want the environment. But as a freelancer, in itself, you're in a great position, because companies don't want to make necessarily the commitment to hire someone. Or, you are cheaper. You could be considered cheaper. But at the same time, as a freelancer, you have to be careful because there's a lot of scams out there. And so you really have to be wary of the scams that could be potentially there. So there's always a plus and a minus, but people just have to be wary, and you have to realize your competition is now greater. So you need to be confident within yourself to know that you can succeed and you will succeed, and to accept rejection as it's not to be a successful rapist, but it's not that no is forever. It's just not now.
Exactly.
And that just keep plugging away and don't take it personal. But that's, as a freelancer, as a salesperson in general, is that what we do in our job is not personal about you. It just means that they may not need you right now. They don't need your service right now. You may actually be too expensive right now. So as a freelancer, it can be your time to shine, because there was a New York Times article actually that just came out that it's the highest unemployment rate, but from a month ago, there's actually less people applying for jobs. So is it because of the weather, where you are? Is it because they now have the kids are in school? They're not like they here in Canada, it's really sunny. Maybe, this time of year, someone's usually laid off. They're not working because they want their summer off, and then they'll start working later. So there's so many different entities involved.
Yes. And do you think it would be a good time for freelancers or for people who work remotely to renew, let's say, their resumes, or sell themselves in a different way just to face this more competition? And
always listen, it's always not to reinvent yourself. I don't think that there's a need to be a completely new person, although my boyfriend will say that we're a new person every day. Our cells have changed within the year. You're a different person than you were last year. So yes, we always do apparently reinvent. We are always a new person.
Tiny inventions.
Exactly. Every year we are somebody new because all our cells have changed. And I'll never say, no, don't become educated. Like, you're wasting your time if you're going to learn a new skill. You never will be wasting your time learning something new, but don't get stuck as the constant student either. It's very easy to say, oh, I need to learn this before I apply to this. It's like, no, you don't. What you need to do is continue applying and continue selling yourself so that you can become more marketable, have more to offer, but don't use that as your excuse as to not to apply to different jobs, or not to make a sales call, or not to pick up the phone, or not to engage in individuals. Because once you become that student, you can become, if you really enjoy that world, it's like, well, now you have an excuse not to. Now I have an excuse not to talk to people, not to confront them. It's like, oh, well, there's no jobs out there. Why? Because I'm learning. I need to learn a new skill first. Or they're very specific. If they see a job, or if they see a company hiring, they're looking at every detail that's within the job when they don't need to. You know what? If you're missing one or two things, still pick up the phone to see if you're appropriate for the job, because your personality will say a lot as well if you can engage in a conversation with them.
I noticed that because sometimes people tend to not brag about themselves, but try to be like more or offer more than they know. And that, as you said, when you are not honest or not authentic enough, it will show. I mean, it's
100%. I mean, I say that even to my kids all the time. I mean, if you lie, and I say this all the time to them, like, if you lie, you may not get caught right away. You probably won't. But if you do it again, maybe you won't get caught the second time. So, but the third, fourth, eventually you will get caught. And I think that kids are just, they're just little adults. So the same rules apply as an adult. There isn't fake it till you make it. There's just make it for who you are and better yourself. But if you fake it, you succeed, because also your expectations of yourself are so high. So what are you going to do then? How do you, maybe there are people that's like we were talking about, scammers, they can't sleep at night, but at the end of the day, eventually they will get caught. And do you want to be that person? I always say, I am my name. I can't change it. You know, like I have a company name, but my company is known as me. So I am my name. We're always our name, and we carry that with us until we die, unless we change it. And in Canada, you can't change it unless you have a really good excuse. So
No, in the
yeah,
whole world, yes. Well, perhaps it's easier in other parts, but yes, you're right.
exactly.
And the name, in fact, of your company, Mind HR, is it
Yes.
like on purpose?
Oh, 100. Of course it's on purpose.
Mm.
So because it's headhunting and cold calling, resume building, etc. So I always said I'm not a headhunter because everyone has a head, but not everybody has a mind. So
Mm-hmm.
it's mind HR because we're headhunters, but not for the head, for the mind. We want people that are actually smart. So that was the
Awesome.
reasoning behind it. Although if you're my mother, you originally read it as MindHR. I was like, no, mom, it's mind
Ah,
HR.
it's awesome because our minds, as you said, really control us. I mean, we control our minds.
Yes, exactly.
Well, awesome, Jessica. And what would be your tip just to face this situation, as we said, with our minds, like to keep on learning or to keep on like not getting depressed or slow down, try to keep up our spirits? And how would you recommend for most, perhaps, well, remote, we are all working remotely right now. So with the new mode for the moment, what would you think would be a good tip to bear in mind just to keep up the work?
It's to show up. Show up. No matter how hard it is. It is so hard sometimes. And I feel it, I can sense it, I see it. Show up. And it doesn't mean that you know what, you don't feel like getting dressed. Accept that you don't feel like getting dressed, but make sure that you show up. And the more, because the hardest part is like when you say working out, the hardest part is getting into the gym. Once you're in the gym, hopefully it's okay and you start moving around and you're like, okay, it wasn't so bad. The hardest part is motivating yourself to go. And as a freelancer, you have no set schedule, right? As an owner of an organization, as a startup, whatever it is, there's no schedule except for what you put in. So that's a blessing and a curse. Because if you don't show up, the only one who's responsible for you is literally you. So you have to show up, and let that be that you show up to start paying bills. You show, which is every, like makes you want to cringe and not want to do it. You just show up. You start writing an article, start sending out an email, come up with like a podcast. Like just show up with something, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Just show up at your desk to start something. And then things will eventually flow. And then the next day, hopefully, it will motivate you to continue. And even if you're showing up to have a Zoom with a friend, that is showing up. Because that Zoom, that interaction will keep some type of mojo going till you get up again. And you probably won't, once you're sitting at your desk, you're like, okay, I'm ready to do this. We discussed this. Now let's go to this. Okay, now I'm going to do this. You've shown up. But if you stay in your bed and you continue watching TV, or you stay on your phone and you're looking at all the TikToks and Instagram and everything else, you could pretend you're working. You say, oh, I don't know why I'm not getting clients. I signed up for a course. I think I'm going to start. But even then, you may not even do that course, because you can say you're going to do it, but until you actually do, you're not. And as a consultant, the only person you're responsible for is yourself, and the only one you're accountable for is yourself. So if you're not succeeding, and it's with everything in life, you have to look at why. And always the reason why is because it's our own. And the only difference because of the CEO and the person who's not is the confidence that they had in themselves to move forward. And they showed up. You know what? Whatever their problem was, you just have to show up.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, that's the best advice. We will put it into practice.
Good, thank you. I hope so. I'm here if anyone needs.
Yeah, sure. We will. I will write all your social media, like LinkedIn and Twitter.
Perfect.
Sure. For all the people who
I'm everywhere. I'm
follow
Facebook, I'm LinkedIn, I am Instagram, I'm Twitter. Wherever you need me, you'll find me virtually.
To contact you.
If you need me physically, we'll have to arrange that another time because I'd love to visit. But for now, I'm I'm here virtually.
You showed up everywhere.
I shall.
That's the idea.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
a lot. We are very grateful for all your advices and your words, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you, Jessica.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you. I'll stop